Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, whatever time zone it is wherever you in the world. It is your Lore Saviour, and today we're talking about zombies and how we can ham-fist them into the world of darkness, which might seem a bit of a random thing for some of you, or most of you. I don't really know how many of you pay attention to the social media stuff that I put out, but on social media, you will know that I have been posting a collection of zombie-focused TTRPGs that I've been acquiring recently. And by social media posts, I mean Instagram, Blue Sky, and the YouTube community posts. So if you don't follow, keep up to date with those, you definitely should, because it's probably the best way to find out the sort of cool shit that I'm doing outside of YouTube videos. Anywho. And that might be a bit unusual to some of you, because I have mentioned it in the past, and I have mentioned it in said posts that I've been doing. But I don't like zombies all that much, or rather, I've had a bit of a issue and problem with zombies over the years. By which I mean, it's not that I haven't liked them because they're bad or anything. It's more the fact that, well, for most of my life I had a full-on phobia of them. Something known as chimortophobia. But I'm not going to info dump you with all of that trauma now. I have a whole video dedicated for that, and as well as a cool, exciting project known as Mission Zombotch, which, as I said, you'll be finding out about very, very soon. So I thought I would tease you all into that by talking about zombies and the world of darkness, and how we can integrate the two together. That, and it would also be a good use of this ongoing rampant anxiety that's making my chest wanting to explode. So first things first, we have to acknowledge that zombies do technically exist within the world of darkness. They exist in a couple of forms. Well, three that I can immediately think of. The first of which is that the most immediately obvious is that the Haitian definition of zombies, because if you do your history, you'll find out that zombies is actually part of Haitian culture that was adapted and altered and mutated by the West. They exist in the form of the Risen, for Wraith the Oblivion, a soul that comes back from the dead to fulfill a specific purpose. You can find out my lore dive on the Risen if you have no idea what I'm talking about, or want a fun little reminder, or don't fancy cracking open the massive Wraith the Oblivion 20th Anniversary Edition core book, or purchasing the much smaller Risen source book. The second thing is probably the obvious thing that you thought I was going to say, which is the fact that with the aid of necromancy, mages and vampires can resurrect the dead, and in a whole variety of different forms. I think mages with creative use of their spheres would be able to reanimate life as it once were, and do some pretty funky shit with it. But as most of you are here for Vampire the Masquerade, you'll probably know that necromancy when rising the dead usually takes on the forms of like shambling corpses that can do very little, usually accompanied by stats. So if you want like the slow George Romero ghoul, as they're called, rather than zombies, there you go. You could stop watching the video here, I guess, and have fun with that, I suppose. But there's the other option where I believe one of the Legacy Hunter the Reckoning books actually focuses on hunting zombies, but I'm not 100% certain of that, but you can let me know in the comments below. But I haven't read that, so I can't really use that for information here, and even I had done, I wasn't going to anyway. Because most of you are coming from the Vampire the Masquerade perspective, the slow sort of zombies, the shambling corpses, it's not really going to be that effective to a vampire. If anything, it's going to be a fucking inconvenience rather than a serious threat. Although, such corpses cannot be influenced by dominate, present, and I think animalism? I might be getting a bit confused. Oh, it's Slactor. That can't be influenced by animalism and VoD. I don't know why I got that confused, but I suppose on a fucking wild stretch of the imagination, they kind of count as well, as they're all corpses, and well, corpses like flesh and bodies just sort of like smashed together that will only kill and eat things. So I suppose on a wild stretch you could do a whole fucking Resident Evil sort of thing with creative use of Slactor and VoD. I wasn't even intending to include that on this, but it just goes to show the fun of doing things ad lib whilst I'm out and about walking my dog who has fucking disappeared off the face of the fucking ether. Emma! Anyway. So, what exactly can you do with these zombies then? Well, the most easy thing here, if you want to include like proper zombies in your World of Darkness games, is you've got two choices, because as I keep saying, you're probably coming in this with a Vampire the Masquerade mindset. You need to up the ante a little bit. You have to make zombies more threatening somehow, or reflavor them, as World of Darkness have kind of done already. As I mentioned, you could do things of a wild stretch with Slactor and VoD and have it break the Masquerade, because I think that's part of the danger with zombie apocalypse is that the fact that everybody knows it's not contained. It's this. A lot of them use like experiments gone wrong, governments fucking up in one way or another. So the fact that the Masquerade is broken and everybody is like out for themselves sort of thing, that's a huge danger to it as well. So whilst it may be cool to like throw fucking wacky disciplines out in the open, it does make things more dangerous for you, the players, because how does one define a zombie? Because to the mortals, you're just going to appear as zombies to them, but some can have weird wacky powers and some of them don't. And if you're the likes of a Nosferatu or Samadhi, which I'm bringing here for a very specific reason, you can probably work out why, or Cappadocian, a Harbinger Skull, or any of the other fugly vampires, well, you're going to be the ones that are the most affected by all of this. The other option is that you just play a fucking hunter game of some description, and you just have the zombies, you know, just a regular zombie apocalypse. And then you as a storyteller can like add in World of Darkness bits to give players some extra frights along the way. You know, with some of the ideas that I've mentioned already, or something that I'm not mentioning, or something else that you have in mind. The other option, which was actually a fourth option, as I was rambling about that sort of came to me, is that using whites. You know, vampires have completely lost themselves to the beast, that are just basically a frenzy all the fucking time. Which, if you think about it, they sort of cover the basis of your 28 days later OG running zombie. The mindless beasts that only just want to feed. And I'm sure there's going to be many instances that when they eat, they accidentally create more vampires. Which you could then reflavour as some sort of taint or virus that makes people into these raging zombies. But Lore, vampires don't work that way. No, they don't. But your fucking players don't need to know that. Or maybe they try and find out what the fuck is going on. Maybe it could be some fucking weird Tremere shit, or some weird necromancy shit that's causing this zombie outbreak. Because again, magic is very much a real thing within the World of Darkness. And sure, there isn't like a proper ritual or sorcery path that deals with any of that stuff. But yeah, your players don't know that necessarily. And some elder might be sort of cooking something up. And it could be part of an ongoing chronicle where the players are trying to stop like this necromancy wielding individual or blood sorcery or whatever the sorcery is. That in their attempts to stop it, they actually make things worse because they're just inexperienced and they just know what they're doing because they're the heroes of this tale, they're the bad guys, they must be stopped all the way. Can you tell that I recently watched 28 Days Later? You know, there's a lot of really interesting ideas that even if you don't want to run a full-on like zombie World of Darkness game, you can certainly take inspiration and make your vampire games more frightening, because more often than not, players getting hunted usually takes on the form of the SI or other hunters just springing onto them, which is something I'm basing on from discussions I've seen online and the plethora of actual plays that are out there. And sure, it's a good tactic, but what happens now if you make those fucking SIs zombies? What happens if there's a zombie outbreak on top of that? So now it's hunter squared sort of thing, which sort of makes things very frightening because the unpredictability of things goes up fucking tenfold, which is super fucking frightening, I feel. I'm throwing a fucking white there, and maybe don't throw all of them all at once because that's just a bit silly, but you know, keep your players on your toes, make them feel fucking frightened, terrified that they don't exactly know what they're dealing with. Because even if it's something as simple as a white, you know, everyone's told, oh, if you lose yourself to the beast, that's what becomes of you. But we don't know much more than that. They're sort of put down as quick as possible so they don't break the Masquerade. Maybe there's a sort of a catch to a white as well, like I mentioned earlier on, that they can accidentally embrace people or they turn mortals into feral monsters. Like there's a scenario in one of the V5 storybooks, Let the Streets Run Red, where one of the cities does have whites running about and they can pop up as like a random encounter sort of thing. Maybe you could do something like that. Maybe you could find out why these whites are popping up and, you know, have that nasty catch or something. Or maybe there's some other sort of horrible reaction. You know, just be creative. have fun with it and go completely wacky with it. Especially if you want to do something that's Resident Evil, because that's always been a bit tongue-in-cheek. Alright, so we've talked a lot about Vampire and Hunter, and I suppose a little bit about Mage, but what about some of the other splats that I'm aware of? Well, I can't talk much about Changeling, because I don't really know how that would feed well into it, unless there's some sort of banality I don't know, I'm not even going to pretend and work things out, I just don't know. Well, the Apocalypse, now that becomes a bit more interesting, because if zombies were an inconvenience to vampires, then they're fucking nothing to the Gru. Unless you make it like a more spiritual reason for it. Maybe there's a type of Bane spirit, like a really super weak one, that can only affect the corpses of the deceased, and only just able to like rise and make them shambling hordes that way, or able like to propel them in like a sort of a weird rackety sort of way, like it's trying to work out the fucking body works. Now again, it gives players of Wealthy Apocalypse a lot of fucking cannon fodder to charge through, but maybe you could up the ante a little bit as they keeps going on with this chronicle. The Bane spirits that they encounter become more stronger and powerful, and Fomori are introduced a bit more that way. But they're a little more different, because the Fomori usually are conscious, like they possess live humans to do stuff, but it can all just be corpse based, and it gets weird and wacky that way. And you can find out what sort of fucking brand of Pentex is able to do this, or why you have a load of these Bane spirits, like which of the like incarnate of the worm is influencing this. So you can fit Wealthy Apocalypse quite easily into that as well, if you're just willing to go through the journey, just introducing things bit by bit and letting the players discover what's going on. And again, this also introduces that element that everybody is aware that this shit is going down, and with werewolves about, that could make things very spicy indeed. Now maybe it could also be tied in the fact that the Black Spiral Dancers know fuck all about this, and this isn't what they're prepared, but they then use this as like a tactic to like push forward and take over cairns and septs. So you could tie a lot of elements in together with this, which I think would be a really cool thing to do. Wraith I kind of mentioned already, you know, the Risen, really the OG description of a zombie. But what if your players don't want to be Risen, because there's some extra hurdles to get over to become a Risen? Well, maybe there's just a lot of Risen about, and they are tasked to go and clear this mess up somehow. Or it could be like some sort of other phenomenon where wraiths are returning to their bodies, or being forced to return to their bodies, and they don't have much control because of necromancy. So there's a lot of interesting ideas that you could introduce, zombie-like ideas, into the world of darkness. And those are just the ones that I'm just coming up with on the spot as I'm just walking the dogs. But I would love to hear some of your suggestions in the comments below. Have you done games within the world of darkness where there are proper fucking zombies? If so, tell us all how you did it, because I think it would be a really cool idea just to share all of your ideas about, and, you know, see what sort of shit that we're coming up with. What do you think about Mission Zombotch? What sort of weird themes do you think I'm going to throw at you to enjoy? Let's just share all these themes down in the comments below. Now, of course, whilst you're down there, you can purchase a load of World of Darkness books of Vampire, Werewolf, Wraith, and who knows what else I'm going to put down there. It's going to be some of my homebrew down there for sure. But as always, if you purchase said books with those specific links, I get some of the money back because I'm an affiliate on DriveThruRPG, and I'm able to provide more cool shit like this and other weird wacky shit for you in the future. And if you've got those books but would like to support me financially all the same, what you should definitely do is copy and paste the affiliate code in the description into the URL of any book that you purchase on DriveThruRPG, the ST's Vault, the DM's Guild, or any of the other sister sites on there. And I'm able to get some of the Wonga back that way. So you get books, I get books, and you get content for free, which is absolutely amazing. So it's a win-win chicken dinner scenario for you, my distantly detached friends, and the lottery amongst you. But if you can't do that, that's absolutely fine, because I know times are hard on all of us and all that shit. So if you can, you can. If you can't, you can't. That's absolutely fine. I'm not going to beat you up for it or devour your brains like the mindless ghoul that I am. Not. But what you should definitely do is give this video a thumbs up and like this video, subscribe to the Lore by Night YouTube channel, and share this video with any and everyone who loves what I do. And I'll see you on the next upload, whatever that may well be for you. Until next time, farewell.